Hi, everyone, and welcome to our session, How to Talk to Management About Marketing. I'm going to host today's panel. My name is Marie Wiese. I'm going to take a couple of moments to introduce all the panelists. And before I do that, I just want to say a huge thank you to the organizing committee of the BBC event. I appreciate this as a gargantuan effort. And I can't thank you enough for bringing marketers together because oftentimes, as marketers, we're kind of left on the sidelines of the dynamics community because we're not the technical people, but we are definitely the people trying to make a lot of good things happen for our companies. So, thank you so much for putting this together. I'm going to introduce today's panelists. A great group of ladies have agreed to join us to talk about this subject, how to talk to management about marketing. And this is a subject near and dear to my heart. As a B2B marketer for over 30 years, I often struggle with this. And I know that our panelists today have some amazing insights. So I'm going to kick it off with Amy Spencer. Please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. As Marie said, my name is Amy Spencer. I'm Vice President of U.S. Marketing for a company called HSO. If you're not familiar with us, we were originally based in Europe, and HSO recently acquired AKA Enterprise Solutions, which may be an organization that many of you know a little bit better. We're about 1,200 employees across the globe, and we ranked number 8 on Bob Scott's Stars report. I have worked in the Dynamics channel off and on since 1998, mostly on. I've worked for some smaller partners, like a $12 million NAV partner with 60 employees as a one-person marketing department. And now I'm very fortunate to lead a team of 10 of the smartest marketers you will ever meet. And our sole focus is to drive demand in the US. A little bit about me. I pride myself on being a marketer that gets sales figuratively and literally. And I pride myself also in fostering sales and marketing alignment. I'm a big proponent of sales and marketing alignment, and that's something I'm very passionate about.
Thanks so much, Amy. So happy to have you here. Jennifer, can I toss it over to you?
Sure. My name is Jennifer Harris. I'm President and CEO of Technology Management Concepts, TMC. We're out of Los Angeles. I have a team of 40 plus, and we're growing at a very fast rate. I've been a Microsoft partner for over 20 years, been in the business for over 30. We started out as a traditional GP partner, but we've transitioned over the years to do Dynamics 365 Business Central, CRM practice, Office 365, and we host clients on Azure. I'm passionate about business. I like to see all areas currently changing and evolving, but especially I've been a big supporter of marketing, both within my organization and outside, and I'm excited to see where it's coming now in the digital age. A little bit about myself. I'm have been one of the few female owners of a partner or VAR. I'm very supportive of women in tech, and I have 2 grown daughters. Thank you.
Jennifer, thanks so much, and I love that background, and I'm excited to have actually management on the panel so that we can have a really great conversation. Liz, let's introduce you next.
Thanks, Marie. I'm Liz Anderson, and I am the Vice President of Partner Marketing at REPAY. REPAY offers omni-channel integrated payments for every business, and we automate not only the AR side, but also the AP side of payments for both ERP and e-commerce users. And I'm super excited to be here. As Anya mentioned in the earlier session this morning, BBC started over 20 years ago, and I was actually one of the attendees at that first event. I got my start in the Microsoft Dynamics channel, and super excited to come full circle and be a presenter here today. I've been honored on the CRM Women of the Channel list for the last 5 years in a row, and I was asked to share my experience on this panel because I've been really fortunate to work for organizations that have had to scale quickly, like Avalara and now REPAY, which are both publicly traded organizations. And in order to scale quickly, data-driven marketing is at the center of every business decision that is made. And so I have implemented campaign attribution models at over 4 organizations in the last 10 years that really help provide visibility to the marketing needs to provide the ROI that management's looking for to get your budgets approved. So super passionate about marketing, passionate about partner marketing, and you'll hear me talk more today about how passionate I am about sales and marketing alignment, which Mac also talked about. So happy to be here, and thanks again for this opportunity.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I'm your host today, Marie Wiese, and I'm the president and founder of Marketing CoPilot. We help Microsoft partners and Dynamics CRM customers build demand generation programs and implement marketing automation. I'm also the host of a podcast, Common Sense Marketer, where we talk to people in the Dynamics channel about marketing. And so I encourage you, if you're interested in having that conversation, I know I've had Jennifer on the show, I've had Anya on the show. If you're interested in furthering that conversation, please reach out. We'd love to have you as a guest. So to kick it off today, I'm going to ask the first question, throw the first question out to Amy. Should marketing have a seat at the management table? Amy, what are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. Without question, we need a seat at the table. If marketing is not involved in decision-making of how to grow the business, how to meet those goal setting, then we're being asked really to do our jobs with one arm tied behind our backs. The more we're involved in those goal setting and decision making, the more effective we can be, the greater the contribution we can make. And the more effective we are, the happier we are, and the more that we want to work hard to meet the objectives. So it's absolutely key.
Okay, so Jennifer, as management, what do you think? Does marketing need a seat at the table?
Yeah, I think marketing more than ever now, we're not only using it for sales, but for recruitment, branding, networking. Our marketing departments have to be part of all of this, especially now in the age of online business that we're doing. I think that it really touches every part of the business.
I really agree with you. And I think that a lot of people have had a bit of a rude awakening in the last 18 months post-COVID or during COVID, when they realized that, some of the more traditional tactics weren't going to work and they had to move online. I think everybody had to rely on their management team. So, Liz, this next question is for you. As we've had to pivot really fast, there's oftentimes it's hard speaking to management about marketing. It's hard to speak to people about, here's what we think we should be doing next. What do you think the biggest roadblock is for the marketing team about speaking to management?
I like to use the phrase, failing to plan is planning to fail, because not being prepared with a budget before the year starts, I think, is the biggest roadblock that a lot of marketers face when it comes to getting projects approved. And management doesn't like to have hidden expenses that pop up throughout the year. And so you want to really start planning for your budget if you're on a calendar or a fiscal calendar year as soon as August of this year, September at the latest, so you can do multiple iterations and work with management to understand how much of the budget they're going to allocate to marketing so that you can then present your plan to ultimately get those budgets approved at the beginning of the year. And you're not always going to know what your marketing campaigns are going to be. But you can, what I've done in my budgets in the past is put in TBD categories. So if I know that we're going to have X percent of our budget set aside for paid digital, I'll set a certain amount across for that. Or if we're going to do events and I'm not exactly sure which events we're attending, I'll put a TBD category in there so that we make sure that we have, anything for any unexpected expenses that might come up throughout the year. I always, have learned that it's easier for management to approve a budget when it's already part of the P&L for the year versus having it come to them mid-year and not having it on their radar. And then another pitfall that I have experienced is not having enough budget allocated. Many of us have probably followed the Partner Marketing Group, and they put out this great survey every year and ask our community how much they're allocating for their marketing budget. And I was surprised by the results because it looked like a lot of organizations were only allocating 5% or less of their budget towards marketing. And to be successful, I really believe you need to have at least 7 to 15% if you're really want to go out of the park, 25% or more is even better. So, in Mac's presentation, he went back to sales and marketing alignment. And there is this term that anybody that knows me close knows I use all the time called smarketing. It's when you merge sales and marketing together, kind of like the Brangelinas or the Brad Pitts and the Angelina Jolies of the past. And, today there are tons of statistics out there, and this number just keeps increasing. It started out like 68%. The latest number I heard is 80% of buyers are looking for stuff online or information online before they're ever talking to a sales rep. And so where is that content coming from that they're consuming? Marketing. So, we really need to have sales and marketing aligned so that we're putting out the right message and driving demand from our efforts that ultimately accelerate sales for the whole company.
Absolutely. Now, Amy, I don't know if you've experienced these roadblocks. I know we chatted earlier and you said that there was, there's always a roadblock we're going to come up against. So what has it been for you, and how have you handled those roadblocks?
Oh, sure. Fortunately, I haven't had a ton of roadblocks in the last decade. And that is because I was an early adopter of Macintosh Sales Lead Calculator. It's something he taught back in the days when Great Plains had a marketing certification program for partner marketers. I went to one of his sessions and he shared this tool with us called the Sales Lead Marketing Calculator. And in learning how to use that helped me learn how to have discussions with owners of the organization. And that is simply backing in into your numbers. So, Mr. President, Mrs. President, you want to grow 20% this year, right? Your revenue goal is 100 million. Let's talk about what areas of business that we think that we want that to come from. Is it CRM? Is it ERP? Okay, let's talk about CRM. What's the average deal size? I don't know. Let's figure it out. So, because we have to figure out how many deals we need to close to reach that number, right? And then what's our win rate? I don't know. Let's figure it out. And then back into that, let's say hypothetically it's a 30% win rate. Then how many opportunities do you need? And then what's your conversion rate from sales qualified lead to opportunity, or from MQL, marketing qualified lead, to sales qualified lead? If we don't know these things, let's figure them out or take educated guesses. And learning how to have that conversation with the owners of the company, senior level management, is really what got me a seat at the table. And being able to talk to the numbers is going to be the best way to overcome those roadblocks. Being able to back up your budget. Why do you need that much money? Well, you told me you wanted to grow the business X%. Our average deal size is this. That means we need to close this many deals. And this is what it takes to get that kind of lift. This is the kind of money I need to spend to get you that number of leads that will get to that number of deals. And so being able to talk to the numbers like that really kind of remove all the really big hurdles. I mean, our jobs aren't easy. I overcome obstacles every day, but not when it comes to talking to management any longer.
Okay. I think that's great advice for lots of people. And that's the follow-up question then for Jennifer is, are these the key metrics you're looking for when marketing comes to see you, or what are you expecting them to say to you when they bring you the plan?
I think that Liz and Amy are right on point. Quite often people come to you and they just say, I want money for marketing, and they don't bring you the facts and they don't bring you the results. Most owners, or at least myself, we're very results oriented. It's a very hard sell to say, I want $100,000 for something, and you don't have the metrics to back it up. You aren't able to say to me, this is what we expect to get. These are the type of qualified leads. This is the revenue. This is the cost of sale. If you just come and you say, this seems like a good idea, most managers or owners are not going to approve it. Marketing is a long game. That's something that we have to be educated on. Most of us want to see ROI immediately. That doesn't always happen. So I think a good marketer is going to have these numbers. They're going to force you to have that conversation. Not all of us know what percentage we want to spend on marketing. Small business in particular, when you say 20% or 20, it gets very scary to us. And so, it's unfortunately up to you sometimes to educate us and put us through the process that Amy said, because at the end of that, we're business people. And if we can see that there's a value to this, then we're going to approve it. if you come to us and I've made my strategic goals that we're going to do CRM deals of a certain size, and you have a marketing idea that's going to get me GP clients, that's not going to work. It doesn't align with our goals. So I think it's really up to the marketing team to show management, this is aligning with the goals that you set out. This is what we feel we can get per deal. This is the revenue. This is the cost of sale. Because let's face it, it pays back itself, time and time again, right? One deal will pay for a marketing event. But it needs, we're business people, we're very results oriented, and we need to see the value. I think most managers and owners can see a salesperson going out and making a sales call. You have a prospect, you have a demo, this is what the cost of sales. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. But with marketing, it's a different conversation. And the world has changed, as Liz said. People already are coming to the table with information. They're going to your website. They're changing to someone else's. Do you want them to? No, you want them to stay on yours and raise their hand. What does that cost? And I feel that most of the times when I have not greenlighted something, it's because they've come to me without the data to support it. And it's a real loosey-goosey, we heard this was a good idea to do this conference, or, this is a campaign. We think we should do this vertical campaign, but they don't really align with my goals, and there's no data to back it up.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I've had the opposite happen where, business owners come to me and say, we got told we should have an Instagram account. Like, okay, well, why? And that's where I try to get the data to say, to back it up as well. Now, Amy, I know, you've had to go and ask for projects, and I love your comments about, go with the numbers, know how many deals you have to close, know how many leads. But when you're looking to do some new things, or you're looking to switch it up, or, you've gotten into your 90-day results and realize you're going to have to do some different stuff, how do you get your marketing projects accepted by management?
By building buy-in. The worst thing you can do is operate in a vacuum. And what I learned throughout my career is that you can come up with the best idea, like super creative, like, isn't this awesome? And if sales doesn't see value in it, you're dead in the water. You might as well just burn that money. So by building buy-in, vetting your ideas with your subject matter experts, with your sales team, and getting them to kind of see your vision. It's, to what Jennifer said, much of our job is all about educating. Always educating them and soliciting their input, because who doesn't like that? Makes people feel valued, right? And don't do it in a in a way that makes them feel uncomfortable, but you do it genuinely, right? You genuinely ask for their input, their feedback, and that goes a long way. It goes a really long way.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Liz, do you want to weigh in on that one as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, as Jennifer and Amy have both said, it's all around data-driven. But a few other things that I have seen help get accepted by management is having common terminology. So Amy touched on this a little bit, but making sure everybody knows what an MQL is, what an SQL is, knowing what a qualified opportunity looks like. As Mac mentioned in his presentation this morning, adopt some sort of process like BANT or PACT or whatever it may be for your organization, so that you're all what is an opportunity. One of the hardest things marketers face is that sales is saying, you're giving me horrible leads, right? And marketing saying, but you're not calling them. And so if you guys all agree on, what a qualified opportunity is, I think it goes a long way. And make sure that from an alignment perspective, as Amy mentioned, making sure that you guys have standard SLAs between departments, so that if you are sending over a lead, they know how quickly they're expected to follow up. And if they don't, they understand what those ramifications are. And one of the best ways to handle that is having those regular sales and marketing meetings to review goals, making sure you're all aligned on, the terminology. And then one of the things that I have found to be very successful to get sales and marketing aligned and to get management to accept your budgets is to tie variable compensation for marketers to your goals. A lot of marketers don't have a variable compensation plan, and I'm a huge proponent of it. We were talking before as a prep, and Amy's like, we don't pay on leads, or we don't even we don't even have those in our goals. And I couldn't agree more. Marketing is more than just lead generation. We are part of the opportunity flow, as well as ultimately we're responsible for helping make sure that deal closes. And so, when you put variable compensation plans together for marketing, think about tying it to your op goals as well as your deal sales goals.
Yeah. That's a case for everyone on my team. We're not measured by leads. We're measured by the opportunities that we help drive, and by the pipeline, net new and overall revenue to the company. That's what we're measured by.
I love that. And, I think that is a pretty new concept for a lot of people. And I think it's really important as marketers that we embrace that. I think it's really important for us to step up and say, I will be part of this, because if we don't do well overall in revenue or opportunities, then nobody does well, right? High tide floats all boats. So we need to be part of it.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And step up and say, we'll do it.
Yes, as an owner or manager of an organization, I cannot tell you how much I agree with this. We do the same thing. Our comp with marketing and sales are tied together, and we're working to do it in the whole organization. If everybody isn't on the same page with the same goals, it's not good enough for the marketing team to say, well, I gave you all these leads, but they're not the right leads. Or salespeople are like, well, they were terrible. How often do we hear that? It's all the way from when Microsoft gives you something. So that idea, and honestly, it's back to the marketing team, because it was the hardest to change their thought process, because they were like, we're giving you what you asked for. And I'm like, well, if it's not closing, then where is the disconnect, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
And I've heard this comment since the dawn of time, since the very first time I was in B2B sales and marketing back in the 90s. I never worked with a sales team who didn't complain about the leads, and I never worked with a marketing team who didn't complain about sales not following up. And that's when I started to think there's a gap here. And and everything that has been said today in the conference about sales and marketing alignment couldn't be more true. And I love it. It's common sense. I don't know why more people don't do it. Jennifer, I'm just curious, is there ever a project you've turned down, or something where somebody's come to you and said, okay, this is what we want to do? Did you turn it down, and why?
Yeah, the main reason that I turn down projects is, as we spoke of earlier, if there's not a clear plan and results. I do think you have to fail sometimes, in everything. Sometimes to allow marketing is a creative endeavor. And there are times, where you have, you're at a conference and it's the right people and it's going to hit the right target. And at the end you get there and no one's there, or it's not. So that's going to happen, and that's okay. The main reason is, if I don't have a good pitch with good value to it, where they've really thought it out, or if it's something that just doesn't align with our goals. So it's a great idea. Sometimes people really hard sell our team. You need to attend this. You need to be part of this. You need to, and it's a great event, but it's just not right for us. And the in events in particular, and we can talk about post-COVID versus pre, very expensive. And if there isn't a marketing campaign around it and a way to follow up and convert some of those attendees with a whole plan, it's a lot of money and it doesn't always pay off. So those more, where there's that big spend, you have to, really find the value behind it. It's sometimes not specific revenue. It can be soft, branding and things like that. But even for that, for your marketing team to really show you their plan and why they think it's important. And again, educate us, because we need that. We need to be educated on the value. It's not intrinsic in an owner or president. Marketing is not something I was a business major. I should have paid more attention in marketing, but I am a big believer, but I'm a believer because my team made me that way. And I'm very grateful for that.
Right.
And Marie, and that ties back to the first question is, why is it so important for marketing to have a seat at the table, so that we don't present Jennifer with a plan to generate GP leads when the goal is CRM, so it all ties in together.
Absolutely. Now I see a question coming in. Mike, we're going to get your question in a minute. If any other people on on the call today as part of this session have questions, please start populating them in the Q&A tab. And while you're thinking about your questions, I'm going to pose my last question to all three panelists. And I think we all three of you have touched on this in an interesting way throughout your comments. And I really do think it's time. I personally agree it's the most exciting time to be a marketer. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I really believe that the pandemic has opened the door to having a seat at the table, having a voice, stepping up and looking at numbers, being part of what's going on because we have to do things differently. So my last question for the panelists is, how should management be looking at marketing post-COVID? You've touched on it, but I'm interested in your very specific thoughts. Let's start with you, Liz. How should management be looking at marketing post-pandemic?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because I think when COVID hit, a lot of organizations, the first thing they did was cut marketing budgets. And that was the worst time for many organizations to do that, because what happens is those organizations that are continuing to market when times are tough are the ones that are remembered when you come out on the other end. And, and surprisingly, especially the tech industry, and I think it's because we're all so used to working remote and our technology organization. So we were able to jump online and not skip a beat. But a lot of us did really well during the pandemic. And some of us even saw growth in our revenue, which was not expected. And so, events are one of the areas of marketing that oftentimes consumes a huge part of the marketing budget. And we didn't have any in-person events the last year and a half. And so I think that marketers are going to have a hard time justifying, getting spend for in-person events potentially, if they're doing it the way they historically have done it. And so this all goes back to data-driven marketing and being able to show past ROI, but also looking for other ways that you can show why these events are important. For example, are you creating new partnerships? Are you creating strategic, relationships with the products or services that you're supporting? Are you making yourself competitive and relevant and staying relevant in the market right place and doing all of that? And so I think that one of the things that as marketers that we need to focus on this next year is really coming back to marketing, right? Sitting down with management and understanding, what are the goals for the year? How do we make sure sales and marketing are aligned based on some of the things we talked about? And then putting that plan in place so that you don't have trouble getting those events or other marketing budgets that you need for this next year approved as you move forward.
Okay, Amy, in 1 minute, what do you think?
All the things that Liz mentioned, it's getting that alignment, not only aligning with your sales organization and leadership, but also alignment with Microsoft, right? Earlier today, there was a Biz App Summit where marketing explained what their priorities are for their new fiscal year. It's finding the intersection, what's important to your organization, what's important to Microsoft, and definitely keying in on that. I think for us, we're going to be looking for how to power platform, how to position ourselves as a power platform player. And we have super aggressive goals. So our leadership team is going to be looking to me to be a consultant. What new lines of business should we bring aboard? What new verticals should we try and get into? So really serving as a consultant to help define, how we're going to achieve those goals and how we're going to achieve that aggressive growth.
Absolutely. Jennifer, what do you think?
Well, I agree with you ladies. Microsoft has very high goals for next year, if people have seen, to double business, and so it's brought down to the partner level. But I think this is an opportunity we've never seen before. I think online branding, most of you at home during this time, our marketing increased right when the pandemic started. We were doing webinars and, how do we touch our clients and, what can we do? And I think this is an accessibility and opportunity for people that weren't able to have a seat at the table and be branded to go out there, and if they have good marketing, create a brand for your owner, create a brand for your organization. People are finding you online. It's not like before where you had to be huge in order to have this presence. If you have a good team that can create that, Nothing replaces in-person relationships. And I know that a lot of people, are struggling with how do we get back out there and meet our clients in person. I haven't met 8 of my new employees. I never met them, like when has that ever happened? I haven't met a dozen clients. So, nobody on my team has. And that's, unprecedented. But so I don't think it replaces networking and contacts and communities, but there's a different way to do it now. You can meet people you would have never had an opportunity to meet. Amy and I, or Liz and I, can have a relationship that wouldn't have happened before because it would have been, oh, maybe at a conference, maybe not. They're very busy. I can pick up the phone and call. I can have a meeting. I can learn from them. So I just think that this new world we live in, where we've elevated relationships via online, it's going to change things. And I think it's, if we are smart, it'll change for the better.
I like it. I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, we're going to turn it over right now. Mike has a question. When it comes to variable comp for marketers, what are the pros and cons of tying comp to opportunities versus sales? Who wants to take that one?
Amy, you want to go first? Or
I can. So our marketing team is measured on both revenue and bookings, I should say, bookings and opportunity. So I have 3 line items. It's all up bookings, net new bookings for enterprise for a certain size deal. It has to meet a certain criteria to be counted, and then opportunities, again, a certain size deal. So all 3. And being measured can be scary, but it's so liberating. I love it. And our organization has I've had a lot of bonus programs that I never had a lot of faith in. It seemed kind of arbitrary, and there was something going on behind the curtain. You never knew how it was calculated. At our organization, you can see clearly how it's calculated. It's very specific, and that builds a lot of confidence. And I think my team would tell you that they love that boost, and it's paid out quarterly, which makes a big difference. I don't have to wait till the whole end of the year. So it keeps me motivated throughout the year. And the one thing about our organization that might be different than some of yours is we don't worry about whether marketing generated it or sales generated it, because marketing helps close deals. We're helping with our presentations. Rarely is there one activity that generates a lead that goes to close, right? They might have heard about you from a Microsoft seller, then they come to your website, then they come to your webcast. And attribution for the average Microsoft partner is really, really hard, really hard. Don't get me wrong. We have a lead source in every lead we generate, but, and we know where our closed opportunities, where they came from because we have a lead, but, we eliminated finger pointing by worrying about, you only get counted on marketing generated leads. No, all enterprise opportunities count regardless of the lead source, because we're part of the whole thing.
I think
and great. To expand on that, and I agree with everything that Amy said. Sometimes you'll hear marketers from a con perspective say, well, I am, 2 degrees away from the deal versus 1 degree away from generating that opportunity. And so changing that mentality, I think, is important to get rid of that con that marketers might feel, because as Amy just mentioned, we're all touching those opportunities as they're moving through the pipeline. And we're all ultimately responsible for helping it get there. And so I would say that if you can overcome that con, that will help you guys proceed with putting a plan in place that's got both sales and opportunities included. One thing that I've done in the past is I give a higher percentage of the variable compensation to the opportunity side of it, and a smaller portion to the revenue, or vice versa, depending on what is more important for you wanting marketers to focus on. So that's another way to look at it, to have both components. And then the last thing I would say with doing variable comp is you need to make sure your data is good before you put a plan in front of somebody. Because if you don't have good data and can measure and have them measure their own success, you are ultimately setting the team up for failure. So you want to make sure that when you're implementing revenue or compensation plans tied to your to your revenue goals, that you can make sure that they're going to be set up for success long term.
Yeah, I think that's great. And one of the things I heard you say, Amy, that I think is really important is that there is no silver bullet anymore. It's not one thing that's going to encourage the buyer to close. The buyer journey is complex. It's multifaceted. There's a whole pile of things that have to go into it. So just looking at one thing isn't probably the smart thing to do. I think looking at both is really important, and being accepting of the fact that there's a number of different things that have to go into it. And that kind of leads into our next question from Candace. How do you justify marketing efforts that are dark, quote unquote dark, where you can't drive attribution? I mean, we've heard a lot about the fact that there's so much going on online where buyers are, looking at stuff and it might not drive traffic back to your website. Most of these efforts are more effective, but it seems that CEOs are trained to expect explicit attribution. Jennifer, do you want to kick it off with your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, and I'll tie it back to the variable comp since I'm the one that makes these plans, and also, Amy had done a session on this with my marketing team, and they brought that comp plan to me a year ago and we implemented it. So, learning from each other, things have changed, and you have to learn from your experience, colleagues and people out there, and be open. One of the things I've learned and we are growing unbelievably fast, and I attribute it to I've changed. I'm flexible. I'm open to ideas. And this variable comp, where it used to be, in the very old that you sent a postcard. If that postcard is what generated the lead, it was from, marketing got paid, sales, as I said earlier, in the digital age, if my LinkedIn blog, if my marketing person gives me a blog to post, maybe someone reaches out to me directly, right? 3 months from now. But that, it's the whole picture, right? They're looking at the whole organization. So I 100% want to urge people to tie everybody's comp together in the variable sales and your marketing and sales, so that you're on one team. We're on one team, and our goal is for the whole organization to hit our goals. So, and if you can't do that, you have the wrong people on the bus. If your marketing people don't trust your salespeople, and vice versa. And so that's sort of with these long-term objectives here that aren't obvious ROI, obvious, what we're getting for the average sale. If you get your owners or your business people to look at the whole organization's goals and say this is going to help contribute to it, the proof is in the pudding at the end, right? If you guys are making it, the whole organization wins. And if you're spending a lot of time on things that aren't helpful, it'll come out in the wash.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So I'm just doing a time check. We're going to wrap right at 2:10. And before I do that, I want to make sure that everybody is registered for Happy Hour, which is being sponsored by the Email Marketing Academy and our good friends at Influence. And so don't forget that will be happening right at the end of the day at 5. The other thing I've been asked to do is just let people know that the next session will start at 2:15. And there's 2 sessions that you can take part in, either marketing strategies for ISVs and lead generation in the age of information overload. That's an interesting one. I love both these topics. So click on the sessions and go directly to the next session so you don't miss out. Those are starting sharp at 2:15. And I just want to say a final thank you to our panelists. Ladies, it has been fantastic listening to you, learning from you. I knew this was going to be a great conversation, and you did not fail to delight everybody. So thank you to all of our panelists today, Amy, Jennifer, Liz, for being here. And again, a big thanks to the organizing committee at the Channel Marketing Academy and the BBC. Thank you for letting us have this conversation, because I think it's been a great one.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.